Haight Ashbury, The Summer of Love of 1969, of like, we're just excited and we're running in a direction and all heart and a beautiful thing. And I honor that heart, but having it move into, thank you, Frank, thank you, Deepak, a flag in the ground to cause something, to commit to something. And we have levers to count. We have ecosystem merging, speaking engagement, sales meetings, sales, disposable income, contributions, fun and magic. And watching those grow, we know that we're not just randomly moving about the galaxy, right? And floating and hoping something happens, because we have beautiful heart and beautiful intention. So that's fantastic. Yes, so what is present for me on this Why Wednesday is the momentum that is occurring for many, but as much momentum as we're experiencing, I am also super clear on how many micro distinctions I personally can hit as levers in my own life. And I'm going to tell you a fun one from last night. I didn't have any sugar last night, Fernando. And I wanted to, not that I have sugar every night, but I probably been having.
Whoa. The call ended with an offer of Twizzlers. So I don't know. Are you considering that not sugar? Or you said no? I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
You can fact check that with Bella. I had some fun with it, pulling the Twizzlers out, but nothing. And listen, I wake up feeling great, but I woke up feeling better this morning. So even more energized and more present, and that's not invisible to me. So boom, and micro distinctions in digital, micro distinctions in press releases, like. I sat back and thought about, that we don't own language online, and we're about to. And I want, from my heart to yours, when people, and Fernando, Adam, if you can come forward, and I'd love Gina and Tiffany Armstrong, to come forward for a sec, because I want to give the optic. A lot of people say things in the world, right? But we work on this business and make commitments and accelerations daily, right? Daily. And I want that shared to be an example of possibility for each and every one of you out there on those micro distinctions of acceleration. And if we don't, and because that's what is required to get from arduous to momentum to abundance. Adam Gagino, you out there, brother?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Hey, so this morning we were talking about, and for everybody, the progression of what it looks like as you build out your ecosystem. And we are gonna discuss an unspoken Adam Gagino topic that I think makes him, this story is, to me, if you understand selling, ecosystem merging, the power of relationship capital. Now brace yourself for this. I think this story is perhaps more impressive than Adam's story at Momentum Solar. It might be. Now, it's not the story to lead with, because when you could say Inc. 500 magazine, and you could say 0 to 500 and 3.5 million to 750 million, right? When you could say those things, right? They are mind-blowingly scotoma creating, right? But in terms of what you're building right now, this story that Adam is about to share may better exemplify the progression from calling people you don't know to building an ecosystem where you don't have to make outbound phone calls to people you don't know. So Adam Gagino, and we're going to tell this in the 90-second version, brother. You became the #1 inside salesperson in your category at ADP. Is that correct?
That is correct. 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. And ADP is, how many people work for ADP?
50,000.
Okay. So what did you do? Tell me year 1, year 2, year 3. Just like, give us the boom, boom, boom. Year 1, year 2, year 3.
Oh, yeah.
What changed?
I came into the organization in an entry-level outbound sales role. The KPIs were 70 dials a day and 2 hours a day. So you were either making 70 calls to businesses, small businesses around the country to sell them payroll over the phone. I stepped into the role, committed to being there before anyone got there and leave after. And I began with probably close to about 300 to 400 phone calls a day, and on the phone, a typical day, 6 to 7 hours in my first year. I broke the record for the most sales in the shortest amount of time, my first 3 months. And then from that point on, every single trip, award, contest, I took first place for the next 3 years until I was number one.
So what you're telling everybody, Adam, is that you have to make cold calls for the rest of your life, and to people you don't know, to sell them stuff. Is that what you're saying?
That's how it started, but that is absolutely not what I'm saying, because as I went from year to year and making 400 calls the first year, the first 6 months, that started to slowly decrease as I was building relationships with people that were my clients and or potential clients. And then from there, the next year, I was probably making like 200 calls a day to 100 calls a day, till by the final year before I left to go to Momentum Solar, I did not make one outbound cold call a day. My phone rang off the hook the entire time I was there. People thought I was cheating. They said, this guy is number one in the country and he's not making any phone calls. This is not possible.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is you built your relationship capital. You met people you didn't know, you ecosystem merged, and or they became clients. And that resulted in you in year 3 having to make no outbound calls, and you were number one in the country at what you did, correct?
That's a fact.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, guys. So there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk about it this weekend, a bunch, in the space of micro distinctions I see available all over the place. But Gina, Tiffany, are you ladies out there? And Lorelei?
I'm here.
Okay, so Gina, just real quick, if you could share with people, what did you think innovation at Unblinded looked like before you became the Rura Open coordinator versus what you think now? Like in terms of, the science, the process mastery, where did you think it was before you came in? Give me 2 sentences of what you thought before and 2 sentences of what you think now.
I thought it was, you guys on the phone making decisions, brainstorming, and creating different processes. And what I think now is, I kind of had a vision that it was like the 3 of you. Now now I can see the explosion of what it really is and what's happening, and the the magic that is within your vision, honestly, and how we're all coming together to make it all happen, and we're all working as an incredible team to make it happen.
Yeah. So just the question is, and it could be like you thought that already, but what did you think our level of process mastery was before? Like our awareness of process mastery and micro distinctions before, like on a scale 1 to 10, and what do you think now? And whatever it is. It could be, I thought you guys were crushing it before. I have no idea. So
okay. Yeah, I did think you were crushing it before, because I know that process mastery is something you've been doing for a long time and teaching. And now it's like off the charts. What I'm now, so a level of 1 to 10 before would be, I guess, an 8. Let's go with an 8. Now I'm definitely, it's a 10. It's like, it's happened. The process is happening. Everybody's in process mastery. We're always working on the right processes, and working together. It's beautiful.
And when we say the right processes, I want to give people an example. So yesterday we went and counted every asset we had, but everybody came up with assets that they thought the company had. And one asset is the amazing relationships we all have together. And so what does it look like if we start issuing press releases about things? Like, how do we not issue a press release saying it's a 250th Real Raw during COVID, this experiential marketing hack? How do we not issue a press release about that? How do we not issue press releases about the giving of resources to the American Foundation for the Blind? And so how do we not issue press releases about things that we've done related to Operation Underground Railroad? How do we not issue press releases that are about the fact that Gina is now the Railroad Open coordinator? How do we not issue a press release welcoming Lorelei as the Real Raw coordinator? How do we not issue a press release saying that Nick Lowry, NFL athlete, was on the Real Raw, and what he had to say about it? How do we not issue a press release that Joe Hagan and TTP are running Real Raw Opens for people in real estate and business owners in the state of New Jersey? Like, and on and on and on. You go, well, what are you trying to do? Just like, get attention in the media? Like, well, that would be good. But we're also trying to own links on Google so that when we look up Joe Hagan, that's what comes up and helps him and helps Unblinded. And it makes it a little bit easier when you look up Lorelei and you see that she's the Real Raw coordinator and there's pictures and videos and things like, wow, that's awesome. And that's one 5-minute micro distinction innovation. And we are doing that repeatedly and continuously. And then it's like, okay, well, that's an idea. Who's responsible? Well, Chaz is responsible. And so it begins. And then another micro distinction would be, hey, we put out a link for the pictures from the LBI. I think I mentioned this. So Matt, Chaz, let's make sure that 10 pictures, if they didn't go out yesterday, brothers, 10 pictures go out today into the Unblinded Elite WhatsApp. 10 of those pictures go onto the Unblinded site. 10 of those pictures go up on my Facebook. We're tagging people and making that happen today. Like, let us not come to tomorrow without that. So for the point of all this is, number one, that the evolution, innovation, and acceleration, and this is fun for me, right? 6 months ago, and I can't help but have some competitive, fun pull dynamic around this. Somebody said 6 months ago, Unblinded is a house of cards. Unblinded is a house of cards. And the feedback came back that they were saying like, oh, it's just a bunch of talk and like, they're never going to be able to pull off any of these things. And this Real Raw thing and, having one-on-one pro, like this is all ridiculous. And so what I am for fun speaking into is for those that thought that this was a house of cards, let's compare your process influence and self-mastery and your 7 levers to ours today. Let's go. And if you don't like that energy, I love you, but I would suggest finding it in yourself because competition is good. It's healthy. It breathes life. And I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not saying anybody's name. And that's not, by the way, and that's not even somebody who used to work here, to be clear, right? To be super clear. That was somebody in other ecosystems. In fact, it was coming from a network marketing company that was out there and probably somebody none of you even know. And so to be like, just give not fake optics into like who we're thinking about. And it's because they were, they didn't see what they didn't see. I'm not blaming or judging them as a person, but it's fun, man. It's fun when people tell you can't win. And, Tom Flatico and I played high school football together. And my mom would say that every game we went out and played, we looked like the Smurfs against the Giants. And then we go out and we whoop their ass. Right. And, one of my favorite days of my entire life was when we played the Cresskill Cougars. And I think it's Thomas Lee, who's been gracious enough to be on the Real Raw. He's a Cresskill Cougar. If you're out there, Thomas, love you, man. We didn't play at the same time, and they're an incredible program. And we played them as freshmen, and they had a 195-pound or 200-pound running back. His name was JoJo, right? Tremendous player. He became an all-county heavyweight wrestler, all-county football player with seniors, just giant kid. Our right cornerback was James DePasupal, who weighed 95 pounds. These are real numbers. This is not hyperbole. It's not like JoJo was 150 and James is 110. No, James is 95 pounds and JoJo was 200 pounds. Those are real numbers. And in that game, they never crossed. We were told they were going to kill us. They were taunting us, saying they were going to destroy us. We went and scouted them. They point up in the stands and said we're going to, they like their quarterback scored and pointing up in the stands and like at us, in a game. And it was so coming in. Our coach said, Coach Slazak, who you've often heard me talk about, he went to Coach Ennis, who was our coach, that he told Coach Ennis, who, by the way, when he passed, you've also heard this, Bill Parcells called Coach Ennis a mentor of his, So he said to Coach Ennis, like, listen, we don't want to get killed. How do we like survive in this game? We have to design a new defense. And Coach Ennis is like, to Coach Slazak, who was the craziest person imaginable, he thought we were going to get killed. And Coach Ennis disrupted Coach Slazak and was like, listen, you're not going to get killed. You're going to win the game. And so we put an entire new defense, and we went out and we crushed them. And they probably outweighed us by easily 30 pounds a player. And it could have been closer to 50, but it was at least 30, right? And I don't mean 30 like as seniors in high school. There's a big difference between averaging like 170 and averaging like 140. We didn't average 140. It's probably more like 170 and 125 was probably the real numbers of average weight on the team. And that's like if you're 200 pounds, then being like 300 pounds, right? And that's what it looked like. And we crushed them. And we crushed them because our self-mastery that day was higher. And these are great players. They had never lost the game coming into that game in their lives from third grade on, ever. Like in junior football, coming to high school. And why I'm sharing this is because what lights up acceleration and your pain is to be like Rocky. Like, let's be like Rocky. Let's step into, or it can't be doneness. And let's forget about Unblinded. What does it look like if that's who you are? What does it look like if you feel like you're being passed over by Unblinded? Then in this situation, you're like, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to show you what I got. Bring it. Yes. Prove us wrong if somehow you're being overlooked here. I love that. And I will love if there's somehow something's going on and you feel like you're being overlooked to come on and be like, you've kicked ass. You did it. In this situation, you are Rocky, right? Or whomever, you think overcame massive odds that would represent it in a female form, right? Whatever that would be for you that motivates, drives you. But the underdog, right? Let's be the underdog that keeps making incredible things happen. And yeah, I'm missing a piece of a micro distinction when I don't tell you that I don't think of that house of cards things twice a week, 3 times a week. I used to think about it every day. And I don't think about the people that are out there. I'd be lying if I told you I didn't think about the people who are in their significance, who are not wanting this to succeed, for us to accelerate at this level. And I'm going to treat this like we're underdogs every day for the rest of my life, because I've been an underdog my entire life. And so was my grandfather. And so was my family. I've been told I can't do it in everything I ever did. You hear the stories about Columbia. People in my class made fun of me. Like, you're going to be a Division I athlete? Whatever. Like, I had those conversations many times. People laughed at my enthusiasm in high school, including some of the people I love and are brothers in the team, calling me a cheerleader because I was like fired up and yelling and cheering when I was hurt from my teammates, right? People are going to do those things. People told me I'd never get into Columbia, ever. People told me that I was wrong to go to law school. I was crazy. People told me I would never start at Columbia. I knew somebody who had a close person there. When I went as a freshman, they're like, he's not even going to make the team. He's never going to play here. I started and played every game as a freshman. It's not about me. It's about the F you part of it. Not like F you, I hate you. F you for trying to limit me and tell me what I can't do. And I want to give that to you. I want to give that to you today. That if anybody is telling you what you can't do, you're wrong, you're confused, I would be lying to you if I didn't drop in with the self-mastery piece that inside of me is like, F you, mother effer. That's what I'm saying inside. Okay. It looks like this. Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it. Clear. Thank you. Thanks for your feedback. But that's what's going on inside of me. That fire, that passion, that let's go. And that's what gets me up in the morning and puts me on those calls, making those micro distinctions. That's what breathes fire into the situation to make things happen. And that's who you are inside. Inside, you have that ability to compete. Even if you've never competed, you have that inside of you. And I'm going to make you a bet that when you watch a movie like Rocky, or something like with an underdog triumphing, you have tears in your eyes and pouring down your face. And if you don't, It's because something's happened to you. My heart goes out that from you has been removed that fire, and fear has taken place, and doubt, or closing yourself off emotionally somehow, which I honor, I respect, and I validate. But I want to free that for you and permit you and challenge you and offer you and love you into stepping into that part of you. Because on the other side of that is where the acceleration that Adam talked about that he created occurred. It's what caused Bethany Hamilton, after she had her arm bitten off by a shark, to go back and become what and who she is. It's what drove Bindi Irwin, like whatever, right? After she lost her dad, and there's like, jokes with, but she lost her dad, who was out there in the world doing things that were crazy, adventurous, wild, to drive that legacy forward and continue to run the things that she runs. It's what caused Barack Obama to become president when nobody knew who the dude was. And people thought he was crazy. I'm not saying like him or not. It's what allowed Donald Trump, in the face of everybody. Never has there been a person, ask Harvard Studies, that has ever received more resistance and negative feedback in the political spectrum in the history, deserved or not, I'm not weighing in, but allowed him to beat Hillary Clinton that seemed like there was zero possibility, including going to election day. It is that energy. And you go, well, I don't want to be like Donald Trump. Well, you should be in this way. What all of those people I just mentioned had in common was a ferocity of competitive energy. Barack Obama has a ferocity of competitive energy. Look in that man's eyes and tell me he doesn't. Look in Oprah Winfrey's eyes, and here's some behind the scenes about Oprah, and tell me she doesn't have ferocity of competitive energy. So we're going to model people. We got to model all of them, right? Of the things that work, right? Donald Trump's communication doesn't work, right? But I'm talking about when you're modeling Oprah, do not get confused with her hugs and kisses, that is not a woman of ferocious, loving, empathetic, and ferocious Zeus energy and competitiveness. I know. Gina, what's present for you as we had this conversation? Please.
What?
Including I don't know, what's present for you?
The fire inside. I can feel that the football game. Like, I'm thinking about like you guys having that fire, like, we're gonna get it no matter what, we're gonna get it, we're gonna win. And no matter what anyone says, I'm gonna do these things that I thought about I've wanted to do in my life, no matter what anyone says, right? I'm gonna be unoffendable. I'm not gonna care. I'm going for it. And I'm gonna make it happen. Yeah. And I'm feeling the fire of the football team. Your fire, your vision it just lights me up. And I know everybody that's watching, you guys are, it's remarkable. And I'm excited. It's your drive and your vision and I'm going to do it no matter what any of you say, including like getting your, like everything you did and all your stories you tell, that your grandfather and your, I think your uncle said, Sean, why are you doing this? Right? Didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And I want to drop in case people are misinterpreting Athletic. Here's an access. My sister is a 2-time Emmy award-winning director of The Early Show on CBS. And she knew nobody. She got an internship because of on Dateline NBC through somebody we did know, an internship in college. She parlayed that through process mastery, self-mastery, and influence mastery to be the 2-time Emmy award-winning director of The Early Show on CBS, now works at Tamron Hall. And here's who my sister is. 2 things. My sister came back to our high school, and when she gave her speech, the ending was, this little girl, is her words, this little girl from Emerson, little public high school, that nobody thought could ever do anything and make anything happen, did all this. And if I could do it, you can too. And what she was saying is F you to everybody who doubted me. F you to everybody who tried to keep me down and limit me. And my sister was the lead in the high school play, her junior year and senior year, after everybody said she had no voice. She went to a voice coach who refused to take her and said she can't sing. And she said, F you. And she took voice lessons from another voice coach, worked her ass off, like a straight up lunatic. And so did my daughter, Emma. And people told my daughter, Emma, the same. We do not have singing genes in my family. And I certainly don't. And Emma worked her guts out, worked ferociously, practiced, rehearsed, and lit that stage on fire last year. And one of the hardest things, aside from physical ailments in our family, was that Emma missed the second round of her plays in Mamma Mia because she was magical. And she was magical, not because she was just born to be magical, because she worked her ass off. She worked her ass off and she competed and said, you know what? I'm going to learn to sing. And where I don't have the optimal voice and those skill sets, my presence is going to fill this mother effing room magically, lovingly, authentically, beautifully, powerfully. And that's exactly what she did. So I tell a lot of sports stories. Forgive me if you don't have sports, but then anchor on those stories.
Sean.
Because the youngest female director in the history. My sister is the youngest female director in the history of national network news. The youngest female director in the history of America in network news because of ferocious competitive energy. And she's a loving, beautiful, amazing mom to my niece and nephew. Yes, somebody said Sean.
Yeah, Sean, amazing. And all of what I want to just encapsulate the competitive energy and what you described back into that story. 5 seconds here. I went in with one of my peers and very good friends into that year of ADP, that board of directors year. And we said to each other that there is no way you are going to beat me. And he said the same thing to me. So we set out to compete against each other, and we stayed longer than anyone else. And because of that, we finished 1 and 2 in the entire country. Now, I finished 1, he finished 2, but either way.
And that doesn't mean nothing that you just said it. And that's the point, that you still, we want to win, you know, and I'll drop in on this. Look at Ella Anderson. You want to find somebody who's competitive. And I'm saying these things because in the early going, I think it might've been the same person that said House of Cards. It's like, yeah, there's all this like masculine testosterone energy. Really? Well, I think Ella's an amazing woman and a beautiful woman. And she kicks ass and takes on all comers and says, bring it. Just like my grandmother Nani did. And we sat in that house and we cried. My grandmother, when her husband was going blind and was blind, my grandfather, she had to go in and sell real estate in Jersey City at night. And she was one of the first women selling real estate in Jersey City at night. And she busted ass. And she went out and did things that she had no idea how to do. And she found a way and became not rich, but she was able to put 5 kids through private Catholic high school. Doesn't cost what it costs today, but 5 kids through private Catholic high school is what my grandmother going back to school at night and finding her Zeus energy and saying, F you, here I come. And that was there. So let's never get confused that Zeus energy equals men. Go tell my daughter that. Go tell my daughter Courtney that when she ferociously fought through and scored the winning goal to send that team in the state finals. And she was working out at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, eating pizza on a freezing mother effing cold floor up in Oakland. When she was training, when she was 10, 11, 12 years old, doing her homework. And her and her sister, Emma, my daughter, who was in the plays, were beating the shit out of each other on that field, physically competing like crazy people, fighting the whole car ride home in that competitive energy. Go tell my sister that Zeus energy and competitive energy is for men. Go tell her that. Go tell my grandmother that. Go tell Ella Anderson that. Go tell all of the amazing women on this call. Go tell Bella Verita that. Right? So I'm not speaking to anybody here now. I'm speaking into the world. I'm speaking into the world. Zeus energy is the energy is not for men. It is not for women. It is the energy of decision, lightning, fire, making things happen. And I could not be more proud of my sister, my grandmother, and my daughters. So yes, thank you for all that. And I had mentioned real quickly, Tiffany Armstrong. Tiffany, quick thought on any of this as we begin to take it home.
I don't think
Tiffany is not up here, Mr. Callier.
Okay, Lorelei, if you're here, because I mentioned their names.
Same thing.
All right, cool, awesome. So as we take it home for today, actually, Gina, take us home. Final.
Final. The drive, go for what you want, be unoffendable. That is like a motto that I've lived with after coming out of a high conflict marriage. Be unoffendable, go for what you want. Don't listen to the voices outside and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. And thank you, Sean, for like the power, that the drive, for being born to run. Thank you, Sean, for being born to run, because you're inspiring us all. So thank you.
Scroll number 2 for me that I say every morning is, I greet each day with love in my heart for all of God's people, including myself, and carry it throughout each day. Love yourself, love your dreams, be lit on fire for life, for people, and yourself. Love you guys.